In the spring of 1996, production on Scary Movie was moving forward, despite a bitter fight with the local school board over permission to film in the local high school. In addition, actress Drew Barrymore had opted out of playing the lead role, choosing instead to portray the slasher film's first on-screen victim. While these hurdles were behind them, director Wes Craven and his team faced yet another challenge, shooting the film's climactic and blood-drenched 42-minute finale.
Yeah, that was the scene from hell. It was essentially the whole third act. So it began with the party at the house, at Stu's house. And since it didn't change locations, it all was lumped under, scene 118, A, B, C, D, up through the alphabet.
That just became kind of a joke that we survived scene 118.
It was called People Live, People Die.
It just kind of seemed endless that we were up at this house and just night after night.
That was where, Billy and Sid made love. That was where Randy gave his rules of horror. That was where Dewey and Gail showed up. And it just went on and on and on. We were at that location forever.
Shot over a grueling 21-night schedule, the film's last act would see the end of many of its most memorable characters, beginning with Sidney's loyal best friend, Tatum.
It was wet every night, cold, wet, and Rose McGowan, she was cold.
And to this day, I get asked if I had some sort of a prosthetic in my chest, which I didn't even know was possible. I had no idea what was going on, but it became very popular with boys.
Her breasts were very, very taut.
It was cold there when we were shooting. I mean, it was very nipply.
I know, good, huh?
But McGowan had more pressing concerns, such as her character's impending death scene.
It was really fun killing Rose McGowan, but the only problem, she said she couldn't scream. So that took a lot of work, because she was getting killed in the garage door.
They actually had to nail me to the inside of the garage door so I wouldn't fall through it. I have bruises from hanging and like screaming and going up and down and up and down. I did find that I can, in fact, fit through doggy doors.
She got through. It was amazing. She got much farther through than we thought she would.
Also amazing, at least to the actors in hindsight, was the fact that no one, including Tatum's own brother, Deputy Dewey, seemed to acknowledge poor Tatum's untimely demise.
I feel quite badly that Dewey was never sad about Tatum's death.
I mean, I obviously should have mourned the death of my sister.
What a cold...
That happened later in the hospital room. What do you mean she's gone?
The next to find himself at the mercy of Ghostface was Kenny the cameraman.
That was the day my wife first came to visit. And then I remember my neck was cut open. And, oh, yeah, by the way, and threw my head back and just my neck gapes open. And it freaked her completely out that it was that realistic, up close.
And while the casualties on screen were gory and dramatic, the unexpected loss of a key behind-the-scenes player was, for some, just as shocking.
I would like to say that I survived scene 118. But in fact, that was in the last week of shooting, and I was fired.
We went to work one day and Mark wasn't there, and it's kind of funky that they would just let the DP go and nobody says a word.
I don't really know totally what happened. I think him and Wes probably had creative differences.
Now, I have no idea what the backstory was with the studio, with Harvey, with Bob, with Wes, but I do know when we saw dailies that night, Wes turned around and said to me, all this footage is out of focus.
There were certain issues with focus and things that were being discussed.
Wes and Marianne come from another room and said, here's what we want you to do. We want you to fire your camera crew, all those people, the dolly grip, and that's what the solution will be.
And sometimes the head of the department will go to the lengths of saying, well, if you're going to get rid of them, you're going to get rid of me too.
And I said, why don't you get a new DP as well?
Problem is, when you say that, you better be prepared for people to take you up on it.
And they said, you know what? Good idea. I don't get it. I don't know what the problem is. All this footage and all the footage that I shot in the film is still in the movie. So that was my last night shooting on Scream.
With only a few days left of shooting, a new director of photography, Peter Deming, was brought in to finish the picture. Now, Craven and his crew prepared to deliver the film's final revelation, the unmasking of Ghostface and the shocking reveal of the killer's identity.
I thought the reveal was brilliant. I think it was unexpected for audiences. It's one of those moments where you want to just walk up to the writer and shake his hand and go, you've done something no one thought of before.
I mean, I've sat in a full audience of that movie and was blown away by hearing people trying to figure out who it was.
You know, I think when you watch a film like this, it's the whodunit, and most often you're just trying to figure out who the one person is.
The great red herring is that, of course, there's not one killer. There are two. Surprise, Sidney.
That's why he can be in all these places at once, because it's two people.
So I thought the twist at the end was very good.
Why are you doing this? It's all by the game, Sidney. It's called Guess How I'm Gonna Die!
I always thought of it as Captain Hook and Smee in Peter Pan. You know, you have this devilish kind of leader who's charismatic and beautiful and everyone, you know, follows him, but he's got this little sidekick and he'll do anything.
They have this sort of dynamic duo quality. Skeet's character Billy is definitely the mastermind of the operation. I think Matthew Lillard's character is probably in love with him and is willing to do anything he says.
I mean, they're maniacal, ruthless killers. I mean, they're pretty terrifying. If you look at the given circumstances, you know, you're hacking people apart, you're hanging people from trees, you're killing them in a garage door.
You just couldn't believe the level of insanity. They were truly scary.
It was just one intense scene after the other, you know, culminating with Billy, Stu, and Sid in the kitchen, and the guys stabbing each other, and everybody covered in blood.
I distinctly have these visions of myself and Nev and Skeet sitting in corners with blood, you know, covered in blood. And you start the night, you know, with covered in blood, and you finish the night with the sun coming up covered in blood.
I was covered in corn syrup for weeks on end. That just got a bit old and disgusting.
Plus it was freezing, so it's like sticky, freezing blood. And Wes is like, well, one of his main quotes almost on every movie is, "More blood!"
More blood! Don't be stingy!
It's always saying more blood.
But the bloodiest scene was yet to come, with the climactic showdown between Sidney and the two killers as they revealed their murderous motive.
Yeah, that's Stu. I think she wants a motive.
Here they start to reveal the motive, which there were two camps when I sold the script, who felt one camp felt that there should be no motive. It was scarier without one.
I don't really believe in motive, Sid. I mean, did Norman Bates have a motive?
No.
Did they ever really decide why Hannibal Lecter liked to eat people?
Don't think so. And then another group of people felt that there should be a motive.
Your secret mother was my father. And she's the reason my mom moved out and abandoned me.
So I took that note, and the end result was both.
I think the stuff at the end with Matthew and Skeet is pretty gratuitous. There's a lot of blood in the fact that they're, you know, stabbing each other.
On a scale 1 to 10, they're freaks. You know, they're a 10.
What was that great line?
Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos for creators.
You know, you were basically setting up that all rules were off.
We know these rules too. We're not going to do them, and if we do them, we're now very, very aware that we're doing them.
I think that was pretty genius of Kevin to turn horror on itself in a way, and bring those things up and then include them in the film.
So the audience, oh, I know what's going to happen, and then they don't know what's going to happen.
They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
Of course, then when the killer attacks, she does exactly that.
And I think there's also something fun about audience members sitting and watching someone do something really stupid and going, no, don't do it, don't jump up, don't go up the stairs. So I think it was fun for us to actually admit that and then carry it through.
Kevin was brazen about it. He drew your attention directly to those tropes.
Knowing what all the cliches are and staying all of them on their heads.
Who's there? I'm calling the police.
You should never say who's there. Don't you watch scary movies? It's a death wish.
They had been around for so long, and characters that started doing the same thing over and over again. Don't go outside. No, it's a weird sound. I have to go outside and get killed, you know.
Is anybody out there?
Somebody there?
You guys doing something I shouldn't see?
Basically, in all the horror movies up until that point, when you say that stuff, you get killed.
No genre cliche seems safe from this scary movie, with the film even shattering what may be the most infamous of slasher movie rules.
You never make love in a horror film.
Don't have sex. That's one of the rules. Like, if you have sex, then you're going to die. Like, if you want to stay alive, just don't have sex with anybody.
The character does a lot of the things that the film claims she shouldn't do, and if she's going to survive, and then goes ahead and does them and does survive.
And the fact that, the moment that Sydney figures out, or thinks she's figured out who the killer is the moment right after she has sex.
Although Sidney Prescott would ultimately prevail over her homicidal tormentors, the film would find time to turn one more horror cliche on its head.
Careful. This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
Not in my movie.
Most horror movies, most movies with a killer, you cannot kill the killer, but the cops always die.
My character was supposed to die in the first one.
Sydney?
We liked David's portrayal of Dewey so much that we brought him back.
And we all kind of looked at each other and said, we'd be really stupid if we didn't film a shot of Dewey coming out being alive. And so we did. We stuck it on the last day of shooting there.
And I was like, really, wow. And then it's completely changed my life. That decision on the set at that time is just kind of unbelievable.
Having survived a grueling 21-night shoot in what many cast and crew dubbed the longest night in horror history, the film finally wrapped on June 8, 1996, much to the delight and relief of Craven, his crew, and especially the cast.
I think by the end of it, we were all very relieved to be finished.
I think the actors went out and literally put all their wardrobe in a pile and burned it. And we had t-shirts made, "I survived scene 118.
Although the cast was set free and most of the crew had survived scene 118, the directors' battles were far from over. When the MPAA, Hollywood's Film Rating Association, weighed in, Craven was blindsided yet again, this time in the form of an NC-17 rating, a feature film's kiss of death.